thing that I think happens in almost every conversation we have, and that almost none of us have ever been shown how to see. I want to talk about the thing underneath the thing, the sentence that doesn't get finished, the pause that means more than the words around it, the look that crosses someone's face for just half a second before they decide to say, I'm fine, instead of what they actually meant to say. I want to talk about what isn't being said. I've been thinking a lot lately about hunger, not the literal kind, though that's real too and worth paying attention to. I mean the other kind, the kind that shows up in the middle of an ordinary conversation with someone you've known for years and makes itself known not through what they say, but through how they say it. The particular quality of someone who is starving for real conversation but doesn't quite know how to ask for it, or maybe doesn't know that asking is even allowed. I think most of us are walking around with a story pressing against the inside of our chest, something we've been carrying, sometimes for years, that hasn't found its way out yet. Not because we're hiding it exactly, but because nobody has ever created the kind of space where it felt safe enough to exist out loud. And here's what I keep coming back to: the person sitting across from us, they're usually carrying the same thing. Two people, same hunger, same story pressing against the same chest. And somehow, in the space between them, they talk about the weather. They talk about logistics. They talk about everything that is easy and nothing that is true. And they both walk away feeling vaguely empty without quite knowing why. And I think that's one of the quietest forms of loneliness there is. I've been spending a lot of time lately unwinding what I actually know about storytelling, not as a craft exercise, more like an excavation, trying to understand what it is that story actually does between people when it's working, when it's real. And what I keep finding underneath all the technique, underneath all the frameworks and the structures and the narrative arcs, is something much simpler. A story is how we say the thing we don't know how to say directly. That's it. That's the whole thing. When someone tells you about their grandmother's kitchen, the smell of it, the particular light in the afternoon, the way she hummed when she cooked, they're not just telling you about their grandmother. They're telling you something about loss, about belonging, about a version of safety they've been trying to find ever since and haven't quite located. The grandmother's kitchen is the thing that's being said. The longing underneath, that's what isn't being said. And most of us, in most conversations, are only hearing the kitchen. So here's what I want to offer you. And I want to be clear that this isn't a technique. I'm not going to give you a list of steps or a framework for better listening. It's not what this is. This is just an invitation to pay a different kind of attention. When you're in a conversation, any conversation with anyone, try listening one layer beneath the words. Not analyzing, not diagnosing, not trying to figure out what someone really means so you can fix it or respond to it or turn it into something useful. Just notice. Notice the pause that comes half a second too long before someone answers a simple question. Notice the way a person's voice changes slightly when they mention something they've mentioned before, the thing they keep coming back to without quite landing on it. Notice the moment when someone says, I'm fine, and their body says something completely different. You don't have to do anything with what you notice. That's the part I think we get wrong. We think that hearing something means we're now responsible for fixing it, that noticing someone's hunger means we have to feed them immediately or we've failed somehow. But the most powerful thing you can offer another person in a conversation isn't a solution. It's the simple, it's the simple, radical, almost revolutionary act of actually being there, of letting what they're carrying land somewhere instead of passing right through the space between you. I think about this with my kids a lot. There are moments, ordinary moments, bath time, dinner, the drive home from somewhere, where one of them will say something that sounds like nothing, a passing comment, a half finished thought. And if I'm moving too fast, if I'm already thinking about the next thing, I miss it completely. But if I'm still, if I've done the work of actually arriving in the room before I try to present in it, I catch it. And what I've learned is that those half finished thoughts are almost never actually about what they appear to be about. They're the kitchen, they're the way in, they're the small, safe tests that a person, even a small person, maybe especially a small person, runs before they decide whether it's safe enough to say the real thing. And whether I catch it or not matters. Not in a dramatic way, not in a way they'd ever be able to articulate, but somewhere in them, something registers. Either there's someone here who hears me, or I'll keep that one to myself. And over time, those small registrations add up to something. Either a person who trusts that they can be known, or a person who learned to keep the real things quiet. I don't say that to put weight on you. I say it because I think most of us have had someone in our lives, maybe many someones, who were moving too fast to catch it. And we learned quietly and without anyone ever telling us to stop sending up the test, to skip straight to I'm fine, to carry the story alone because the space between us and other people didn't feel wide enough to hold it. And I think some of us are still doing that in our closest relationships with the people who would most want to hear us if we gave them the chance. So here's what I want to leave you with: two things, one for the listener and one for the one who wants to be heard. If you are someone who wants to be heard, the hunger you're feeling is real. The story pressing against your chest is real. And you're allowed to say, I need more than this conversation is giving me right now. You're allowed to go a little deeper than I'm fine and see what happens. Not with everyone, not all at once, but with one person in one conversation, just a little further than you usually go. See what the space between you can hold. And if you're someone who wants to learn to truly hear, you don't need a technique. You just need to slow down enough to catch what's already there. The half finished thought, the pause that means something, the grandmother's kitchen, and the longing underneath it. You don't have to fix it. You just have to let it land. You see, most people are not starving for advice. They're starving for a witness, someone who will sit still long enough to hear not just what they're saying, but what they mean. That's all I got. Thank you for sitting here with me. Take care of yourself.